Welcome back inside of the Dynasty Draft Room. This is the Draft Seminar. I'm your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, joined, as always, by John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. John, today we are talking about Jake Fromm, the quarterback out of Georgia. Jake Fromm had a very successful career at Georgia, but he seems to be a controversial product in terms of his ceiling at the NFL level. I'm really excited we're talking about this guy because personally, I think we might be selling him a little short. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about Jake Fromm, John.
He's a very fascinating prospect, and there are a lot of people I respect a ton who really like this prospect. To me, it's been a debate between like Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, and Jake Fromm all off season. These three are very, very difficult to distinguish. Now, I tend to be a little bit lower on Jake Fromm than many, and I think the NFL community will like him more than I do. During his campus tenure, this young man beat out two five-star prospects, Jacob Eason, who went to Washington, and Justin Fields, who went to Ohio State and is one of the top prospects in next year's quarterback class in the NFL. He was a team captain and 3-year starter in the SEC. Look, scouts and organizations are going to love those numbers and that type of resume. Now, he got a little bit lucky because unfortunately Eason suffered a season-ending knee injury in 2017, and Fromm was thrust into the lineup as a freshman, and he led the Georgia Bulldogs to the CFP title game. They were loaded, that team, when he got there as a freshman. Afterwards, he was freshman All-American by ESPN and USA Today and Coach's SEC Freshman of the Year. Now, he had very good 2018 and 2019 seasons, but the Georgia offense isn't going to produce All-American Heisman-winning numbers for their quarterbacks. In 2019, he was the Vince Dooley Offensive MVP, the co-winner, and Community Service Award. This young man is a legitimate NFL prospect. I like him. I'm just not as high on others as they are on Fromm. What do you say, Matt?
I mean, John, you know I'm locked into the SEC, so I've experienced firsthand the growth of the Georgia program under Jake Fromm. I know we think of Georgia as a powerhouse in the East, but that's not the situation they found themselves when Jake Fromm took over. Now, they were on the rise. They had been doing a great job recruiting, and Jake Fromm certainly has had fantastic pieces around him to help rise that Georgia program. But much of it is because of what he's been able to engineer on that offense over the past 4 years. And like you said, he's done it after being thrust right into it there as a freshman, and he's had a lot of success. So I'm interested to jump into him a little bit more, John, and why don't we go ahead and do that by starting with his college production numbers and how they line up with what you're looking for there with quarterbacks at the next level.
So the first thing that jumped off the page, he exceeds 4 of my 5 benchmark stats, Matt. He was very productive and efficient over his 3 seasons at Georgia. He played in 43 games. His passing efficiency, 156.2. The only benchmark that he does not hit is completion percentage at 63.3, but that's a little bit a factor of the passing game and the scheme that they run at Georgia. His yards per attempt were much better than I thought, 8.4. So he does throw the ball down the field. And his touchdown to interception ratio was really good at 78 to 18. So he far exceeds my 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. But where Jake Fromm falls, in my opinion, down my draft board, he only had 4 career rushing yards. And I gave him a C on escapability score. He can maneuver the pocket, but he's not going to get you first downs with his legs. And that bothers me in the modern NFL. I'm looking for playmakers athletically who can move the chains and get first downs with their legs and be a dual threat near the goal line. So I have a second round draft grade on Jake Fromm. Matt, what does your film breakdown say?
Yeah, absolutely, John. I do expect him to probably go in that range of the NFL draft, somewhere on day 2. But let's go ahead, let's dig into the film a little bit, John, so we could see exactly why that's the case. And here's the film breakdown for Jake Fromm, the quarterback out of Georgia here. We're going to start against Georgia Tech. You see flashes of arm strength. What he gets knocked on a lot is that he doesn't necessarily push the ball down the field, but he wasn't asked to, and on this play, you can see he pretty easily gets the ball 45 yards down the field, so he has the ability. He's got a high football IQ. You can see him reading through the offense here. First check not there, second check not there. He gets the ball far downfield, 40 yards downfield on that third check, leads him well past a good Auburn secondary. He's accurate in the short field. That's really his bread and butter. Within 20 yards off the line of scrimmage, he's accurate. He navigates well. You can see him here slicing up the Florida defense well, and that is not something that's easy to do. The Florida defensive backs are some of the best in the SEC East right here, but he leads his man well, good anticipation. He throws him open, and here, again, leading his receivers very well. He drops it in a bucket here in between these two Mizzou defenders and gets it right on the sideline where only his receiver can get it. That's what you want to see from a quarterback. High football IQ, game manager, yes, and I mean that in a good way. Kind of gets thrown around in a negative light sometimes, but Jake Fromm, I think, is a game manager in the best way. I think you said it best, John. Fantasy football folks might not appreciate it as much as NFL GMs will.
Absolutely, Matt. I think the NFL GMs will really, really like him, and I would not be surprised if he goes late in the first round, even though I don't have a first-round grade. And, Matt, you said it perfectly, the high football IQ. When you watch this young man play football, he's been well coached, he's an excellent learner, and he's got 43 starts under his belt. He reads defenses well pre-snap. He processes coverages. He goes through his progressions, and he identifies the top target. He's a pure pocket passer. He's tough, savvy, and he's a mature player. He has very polished mechanics, and he delivers a smooth ball. He audibles into proper play based on defensive alignments, and I really, really like him throwing the football. He's a rhythm passer who excels on quick timing throws, as you mentioned. He has a compact and efficient delivery. He finds the open guy. Now, he orchestrated a pro-style offense in college, and he ready-made field general with 42 career starts. But I like athletic ability at the quarterback position, Matt. I think if this was in 1998, Jake Fromm would be a top 3 pick in the NFL. But with only 40 career rushing yards and limited athletic ability, I think that's why I have him as a lower grade. I think he's scheme dependent. You really want to build an offense around a short and intermediate passing game and get the ball out of his hands quickly. He's not efficient off script, and his fastball lacks juice. Look, it's NFL level, but he's not up there with the elites, and he has zero rushing upside. So definitely NFL franchises will be much more interested in him than fantasy owners. Matt, I have him in the bucket as Derek Carr and Andy Dalton. He's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I wonder what his ceiling is. I expect him to go off the board early day 2.
I think you said it perfectly there, John. All of John's fantasy football rookie profiles can be found at footballdiehards.com. And John is on Twitter at Gridiron, SCHOL91. I'm on Twitter at the FF_educator. You can find all of my work at dynastydraftroom.com, and that does include the 2020 Fantasy Football Rookie Guide, which is now available for download. 91 full player profiles with in-depth breakdown and details similar to what we've given you here for Jake Fromm today. We appreciate everybody listening. Class is over.